the UFC 250 just around the corner. I wanted to do a main card breakdown, one of the biggest events the UFC have ever put on, and an event that even boxing, I think, would find it difficult to rival. You know, on the front of the White House lawn, an incredible event, lots of logistical problems they've clearly got to get this on board, but if they pull it off, I don't think anyone else can say. In 2 years they did the Sphere, they now have done a UFC fight card on the White House lawn. Look, boxing's finding it hard to compete. Pyramids of Giza, obviously, a couple of weeks ago now for boxing, but an event, if it comes off, and we need to see it come off, would be I think a real statement from the UFC of what they can do and how they can perform against boxing. So getting straight onto the main card, obviously a massive event. Lopez versus Garcia. So Diego Lopez obviously facing Volk, losing, not gaining the title on both occasions. But look, against Garcia's going to have a reach advantage. Diego Lopez has really had the acumen to be probably the second, at least top three, I would say, but second to the champion in that division after he lost to Volk. But look, Garcia's on the way up. He's going to have a 2.5 inch reach advantage. Did incredible in his last fight. Got a good finish there and really consistently took parts out of the opponent and then got him. Didn't rush in and technically just got the final bit of the finish done. I think he was catching him by a couple left hooks, understood it, kept going for them and catching him with them as well. Lopez has done amazingly well post the Volk defeat, and really he's only been defeated then, if you go backwards from there, against Evloev in May 23. So there's quite a span there where he's doing incredibly well. I think Evloev causes a problem for everyone in that division, not just Diego Lopez. So I think definitely top three in that division for Lopez. Garcia, I think he's done well, but I don't think he's really took on the people at the level Lopez is at. I think Garcia is probably going up a level, 2 levels too much. At current, I think he needs to build himself still. I think in fact you get offered Lopez, you'll take it, but I think it becomes very difficult when you jump. I think at least 2 levels too much at this time. I think he needs to have fought some of the up and comers, get good wins against them, and go, right, I'm now ready for a top 3 fighter. He sort of jumped straight into the top of the division. But look, if he wins, he gets a real push towards the title, I believe. If he beats Lopez in any sort of consistent way, then look, he's looking for a title shot in his next fight or a title eliminator. And it really just jumps up that division. So, look, clearly took the opportunity, in I think many fighters would. But I think it's a step too far, and Lopez will get the KO TKO in that fight. On to the next fight, Bo Nickel versus Darkus. Obviously, Darkus doing very well in the UFC, beating Michel Pereira in a very, very lovely fashion. Very good win there. And then beating Meerschaert in his last fight. So 2 great fighters, 2 weird fighters. Michel Pereira obviously being very... using all the ability in there and coming up short a lot of times because he just overthrows. And he basically pushes the fight into like throwing the most ridiculous stuff and then just being tired. I think that's a problem with him. But look, he got through it. It's a fight that really proves that look, you're not just a good fighter, but you can take a back seat, just wait. Don't keep throwing. Just wait for him to make a mistake. Bang, get him slowing down after he's throwing a lot of stuff. And Meerschaert, obviously a great fighter as well. Bo Nickel, I truly believe, Bo Nickel, go a few years back, and many of you will remember this, but Bo Nickel, when he first was beating people in the UFC, was considered the next star, the next world champion in that division. The hype has literally died a death after the loss to Derrida, which was quite simply... I can understand why it destroyed the hype, because he just got hit by body shots. He couldn't really do anything. He got showed up really well. Derrida has then been beaten, but it proved he was a good level as well. So, look, it probably shouldn't have destroyed the hype as much as it did, but I think it was just a proven thing of, look, Bo Nickel couldn't get him down when he was getting hurt, and that's a problem, and he needs the other part of his game to really push him up towards that championship level. When there's so many great fighters in that division, it becomes a real problem for Bo Nickel. But last time out, beat Vera with a lovely kick, which, great to show Bo Nickel's stand-up game, and it has been showing it. I think it definitely has been getting better as well. I think Bo Nickel gets this done. I think, again, Dorcas is coming off some great wins, but I think it's a step too far. I think people are missing out because the hype's died and everyone's sort of backed away from thinking Bo Nickel's going to be a real top guy in the division. I think, look, you've got to understand he's a great fighter. If he gets you down to the ground, he does incredibly well. I think his stand-up is getting better, which then allows him to use the ground game even more. And I think he'll damage you on the ground slightly, round 1, say. And then I think he then gets it stood up in round 2. And I think he does do a bit of stand-up then because he has slowed down. He has been damaged. You can start picking him apart. And I think, I think it's still... If Dorcas is hurt, I think the limited, but it is limited stand-up game of Bo Nickel will do incredibly well, and at least allow him to get him down to the ground again if needed. And I think it's decision Bo Nickel. I don't think it'll be that impressive a performance, but I think it'll be, 29-28 for Bo Nickel. I think it'll show he is good enough in the division to be a threat and definitely improving on his stand-up, which will mean he can go further than we thought. I think the hype dying as much as it did it is going to cause people to think Dacus can do better than he can, and I think Bo Nickel's going to show it that really he is dominant enough to win a round and then cause him to have to rush in and chase it and get, he may even get 30-27, but I think Dacus could get like third round maybe or something like that, but definitely Bo Nickel gets at least 2 rounds won here. Ruffy versus Chandler, next fight. Obviously, this is a bit of I would say an odd one. If you didn't realise it was UFC 250 Freedom card, which is on in America, obviously, at the White House. So Chandler being one of the biggest American stars of a good amount of years in the UFC. Past 10 years, I would say, is one of the biggest names that everyone knows about, especially with him being on The Ultimate Fighter as a mentor with Conor McGregor, and that fight meant to happen obviously back in the day. Chandler's at the end of his career though, and I think, to be honest, is a fight he would obviously want. He would have asked for this massively if he didn't get offered it, to fight at the White House, because it must be a dream. It must be a dream of his. As soon as it got announced, it must have been a thing that, to be honest, no one thought would happen, but if it did, he wants to be on that card, and fully respect that. He's going to want to be on this card. But look, Ruffy is looking in and he's coming into his prime. He's looking to get up there and he's looking to get big wins and big knockouts to show he is one of the best out there. He's a very skilled striker, and I think he's going to embarrass Chandler. I think he's going to embarrass him. I think Chandler's way past his prime. He's coming into his retirement. I think this could be his retirement fight. I definitely wouldn't be surprised. And I think he's going to be shown to be slow. He's going to find it hard. I think he's going to have to use his size, because I fully expect he's bigger than Ruffy. He's stronger than him, at least. But I think even Ruffy's just going to start grappling with him and go, yeah, no, you're not that guy anymore. You're nowhere near your prime. You're far past it. You're slow. You're sloppy when you get hit. And as soon as you start getting damaged, we start getting into round 2, round 3, when Ruffy's hitting you with body shots, hitting you with everything he's got. Fast ability, making you miss. I think he's going to show he's slower than ever, and that'll be a right problem against such a skilled striker as Ruffy. And you've got to think he gets a KO here. I think it's tough to see anything but a KO or an early finish from Ruffy, and that could go either way. I think it could be a sub, it could be a KO TKO, but I think if I'm guessing, it'll be a KO TKO. Chandler's tough though. Chandler is tough to get knocked out, but I think he will be. It might be a technical knockout, but the referee's going to stop it. Ruffy gets a good win, and I think an impressive win with how he shows up and embarrasses Chandler, if I had to put it in one word. And I think it's going to be a great card for Ruffy, because I think that really on a bigger stage shows what he can do, and I think that gets him good fights in the future. On to the co-main event. I think my favourite fight of the card, Pereira versus Gane. It's really challenging. It's 50-50. I think people are wondering how many divisions can Pereira go up from. He's went from middleweight to light heavy, won both titles, and then now he's going for the heavyweight title. So an incredible movement. A big guy. You know, I don't understand how he quite made middleweight at the size of himself, because he looks quite at home at light heavy. And I think, look, this is the next step. I think John Jones has obviously done it, won the heavyweight title and done that against Gane as well. So that's an interesting fact, and it may set up something. Do I believe John Jones is coming back? No, but look, it may push that narrative, but at least it pushes the narrative of maybe getting a Tom Aspinall Pereira fight or Gane. You know, it sort of lights up and starts pushing the heavyweight division. That actually, this is actually looking like we've got a few great fighters at the top end of this thing, which is something we haven't had in a good while. For sure, we haven't. With Tom Aspinall coming up and Ngannou then leaving, John Jones then getting the title and then leaving, it's left the heavyweight division in a terrible place. And with the eye poke as well, it's caused it again, you know, to be in a terrible place. So look, Pereira coming into it can only make that better, and he will make massive history on probably one of the most unique and biggest cards he can. That are out there. You know, who else could win a third division world title going from middleweight to heavyweight on the White House lawn than Pereira? You know, Pereira has done incredibly well. He's took massive fights and an incredible fighter who deserves everything he gets, and I hope he wins. I think he will win. I think it'll be a tough fight though. I think some people are thinking this might be easier than it is for Pereira. I think it's going to be very difficult. I think he will lose rounds. He will look like he's getting hit. He will find that he's getting adversity with Gane, because Gane's a tricky striker. He's at the weight. He's ready at the weight. Pereira will find that size a bit more challenging than we first think. I think Gane's going to have some bits in his locker where he goes, look, this is now heavyweight. He's going to feel them punches and go, right, this guy's way bigger than the guys that I faced before. He'll take the shots well, but he'll understand the danger, and I think he'll be less free-flowing than usual. I think he gets it done, though. I think he gets KO TKO. I think Gane, what great movement he has for a heavyweight fighter, he can be caught. And I think getting into the fifth round, getting into later rounds, Pereira is the guy, because his game is not focused fully on moving all the time like Gane is and getting them counters. Gane will find it troubling getting into later rounds with Pereira. So Gane needs to try to get something down quick, get him hurt quick, get him chasing the fight. Because if he's not chasing the fight, I put Pereira's game against anyone. So I think he's incredible. Clearly not going to really go down to the ground. If they do, I think Pereira actually is as good as Gane. I think strength-wise, I think Gane may be stronger, but I don't think they'll be looking to go to the ground, either of them. I think it's just too messy. I don't think anyone got the technical ability on the ground enough to think I could beat this guy, because one of them could just pull something out of the bag on the ground and randomly win. I think both will want to use their game on the feet, and I think Pereira gets the KO TKO, and I just hope he does, because it'll be such a storyline to go third weight world title and then at heavyweight. And if Tom Aspinall can't come back still because of the eye poke, because of surgeries, etc., maybe that will make the John Jones fight and John Jones come back into the heavyweight division for one last fight, which would be an incredible fight to see. On to the main event, Topuria versus Gaethje. Obviously, look, Gaethje, one of the toughest fighters in that division. Great striker, great hands power, but he's looking for that one shot. He's looking for a big shot. He's coming to the end of his career, and Topuria is just so good. Even at lightweight, he dismantled Oliveira easily. The power is still there. I think it could even be better than the power at featherweight. And I think he's going to do an absolute number on Gaethje. I think Gaethje gets destroyed as much as he did against Khabib, as much as he did against, say, Holloway, because Holloway did incredible at that last round to do that. I think if Makhachev faced him, obviously he'd do a similar, but it'll be on the feet. I think this is the first time he's really going to get not just beat and knocked out like Holloway or absolutely dominated on the ground by Khabib. I think he gets destroyed on the feet, and I think he gets pieced apart by Topuria. I think Topuria starts dropping him, starts tapping him with combos, which are incredible boxing combos. And I think Gaethje starts... I think that he's going to get cut up quite well, and I think that starts affecting him. And I think it starts looking bad, and the referee comes in after a few combos. He's still on the feet. He's up against the cage, getting comboed. Referee steps in, not allowing him to take any more. And I think he's going to look battered post it. Truthfully, I think Topuria is so good at catching you in right areas. His ability to catch you well on the chin, but then he can cause cuts. And I think Gaethje's had quite a long career. I think he's able to be cut. I think he's able to be knocked out. I think it's going to look quite easy for Topuria. I think he's going to make it look quite simple, and it really does set up that Makhachev fight in the future. And obviously all these rumours around Ryan Garcia in boxing, they're going back and forth a bit online, Topuria and Ryan Garcia. So look, that could be the next thing, with obviously Dana White being in Zuffa now, Zuffa Boxing, and running the show there. It could easily mean that once these guys have faced everyone they can in the UFC, which there's obviously a mega fight on the table for Topuria, then boxing is another way they can look at earning money and getting mega fights with mega money, a lot more than they do now. So look, I think I may make a video on that, so stay tuned on the channel, because I think that will be something we need to deep dive into, the Topuria versus Garcia fight, which I think is an incredible fight and would sell massively, because a massive star Topuria is in Europe, especially in Spain, with Ryan Garcia being massive in the US. And really, this card being so massive in the US, being in the White House, will gain a lot of fans for Topuria, which then could push the Garcia fight massively more. And let me know what you think. I think Topuria gets the KO done. I think KO is clear. TKO maybe referee stoppage, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of each fight? What have I got right? What have I got wrong? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.